This is Kim, your friendly neighborhood ER nurse. I'm the host of People Are Wild, the only podcast that claims to bring medical entertainment, medutainment, on a weekly basis. I can be found on your favorite podcast listening app, iTunes and Google Play, and you can talk to me on Twitter at People Are Wild.
Hello, and welcome to the 10-7 Off-Duty Podcast. My name is Andrew Straley, EMTP, and with me is Clyde.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm feeling slightly better. Not as good as I would like to be. I'm very tired right now, but it's okay. And I've been working on my car pretty much nonstop while being sick. That's the shitty thing about being off work is you have the time to do everything that you want to do, but you don't necessarily have the money to do everything.
I was to say the lack of ambition.
Right.
And like, I'll
whatever.
get to it.
Well, yeah, and I was telling you earlier, like, having a fever and stuff, it's like, just willing maybe a little bit of work would be done just that I wouldn't have to do it myself, but yeah, that doesn't work. I need a robot.
Stand outside until you see a neighbor kid like, hey, you, come here.
You, mirror.
Don't call your mom. Don't. Wuss.
You know, I had this weird feeling over the past couple of days. Do you ever get deja vu? Like you
all the time
could swear that something has happened
all the time.
What was that? The Truman Show or something like that? Like there are a few times when I feel like my life is like the Truman Show. Is that weird?
Orchestrated?
Yeah, kinda.
Scripted, probably a better word for
it. Yeah. Because I've been watching TV out in the garage when I'm quote unquote working on the car over the past couple of days because I felt like
in
crap.
Front of your car watching TV.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I did get some stuff done, but I keep seeing this ad for a movie that's coming out that has the dude from The Office called Welcome to Morrowind, and it's about this dude who apparently
he got beat up by somebody.
Yeah, for wearing women's shoes or something like that. And then he made a town full of...
It's inspired by a true story where the guy was assaulted.
Yeah.
Like, horribly for... I don't know why. I'm assuming, like, you said women's shoes or... I don't know, maybe he was gay or something. Like,
yeah,
he was assaulted for something
too.
Messed up.
Yeah.
He was assaulted for something that nobody should be assaulted for.
Right.
He was attacked by 5 guys, put in the hospital. Like, he was jacked up. Like, they screwed his shit up.
Yeah.
And, evidently he... even in real life, he ended up diving headlong into making these snapshot stories, I guess you could call them.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where he would like put the dolls in certain, but kind of like the original Robot Chicken.
Right. Well, now this was what brought this up is I could have sworn that I have already seen that movie, and I don't know why. Like, I could swear to you that it was something that I've...
Do you know what deja vu is?
What?
It is where your brain is put in a position where it tries to associate something you're doing with something it remembers and misfires halfway through. And that's why you have the sense of, I've already been here.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like, because I stream a lot of movies, and I could have sworn that I've already seen that, but it hasn't even come out yet. So I'm like, how?
You may have seen...
Maybe it was just a fever dream.
Previews or something like that. You may have seen the previews a couple times during, like, feverish binges, and you're watching it when you're a little better, you're like, wait a second.
But that's a weird thing, too, is like 9 times out of 10, I don't remember my dreams ever. But then whenever I do, I'll get that like deja vu because something will happen. I'm like, that's exactly what happened in my dream. This is weird. I know. Aliens exist, guys. I'm pretty sure. I may have been probed once or twice. Who knows?
Bible camp.
What is a Bible camp story? You keep bringing it up.
Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. It is a joke I've told for like 9 years. Like I worked at I almost said where I worked. Actually, I don't think it matters. I worked at UPS. I was a package handler.
He was an UPS.
Yeah.
You know what Brown can do for me? They can deliver my goddamn packages on the weekend. That's what Brown can do for me.
Nope, they can't. United Pot Smokers, they're asleep. But
all right, my man.
but no, I worked for UPS and I had a manager or a supervisor. His name was Will. And cool dude, really cool. He was one of those managers that he could see the potential in somebody.
Right.
For the job.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Even if they didn't. So
Right.
he could look at somebody like, they're going to be a badass worker. And even if they were like kind of lazy when they got there, he would push them until they hit their full potential and be able to do the job to their fullest ability.
You mean a good manager?
Yes.
Which is hard to find.
A lot of people that were new did not like him because how hard he would be on them.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I would tell him, like, listen, man, if he didn't think you could do it, he'd tell you get the fuck out of his area because he doesn't want your ass over here. But he is calling you down here from the unload for a reason because he knows your ass can work. He's seen you work.
Yeah.
He's like, no, all you got to do is
do
work. That's what we're here to do, man. You're getting paid. And honestly, moving boxes all night, you're basically getting paid to work out. So, I mean...
Right, yeah. It's kind of like when I was growing up. I used to bale hay in the summertime.
Exactly.
Exactly the same thing.
It's like you're getting paid to work out. You don't have to do your exercise when you get home now.
Right.
Like you already did all your cardio tonight.
Yeah.
But anyway.
If only there was a treadmill.
He and I would mess with each other all the time. Now, he had that relationship with most of the guys, but we would mess with each other. And I remember there were a couple of times where we were just screwing at each other, and he would look at me and was like, man, you're one fucked up dude.
No.
I know, right? Now, he looked older than he was. Like, when I met him, I thought he was close to 30, and I was only like 19. He was only 23.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he just looked older than he was. Like, and it wasn't in a bad way. He just looked older.
Yeah.
And hell, I saw him recently, and he hasn't aged. Like, he still looks the same. And now he is almost 30. But but anyway, there was one day where he said something, I didn't have a comeback. So I looked at him and I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick your nose. And that's when he was like, you're one fucked up dude. Get the hell out of here. He's like, seriously, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And that's where it started. I was like,
church camp.
I was like, I've been to Bible camp a couple times. And he was like, what? And he just walked away laughing. He's like, that's messed up.
Catholic
messed
Bible
up.
Priest touchy.
And now, every time there's a dirty situation, I just say, I've been to Bible camp, and people automatically know what that means.
Well, there you go.
It's kind of like a new school. That's what she said.
So, I wrote this down because you were supposed to tell me about a 36-inch shank at some point.
Do you want me to tell you the story?
Yeah, because I remember we were talking a little bit last week after we got finished, and yeah. I didn't tell you the whole thing. I gave you just enough just enough to be like to pique your interest. It's that bait, right? You're a masturbator.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm a masturbator. But no, okay. So when I was in corrections, we had an inmate who I'm just going to refer to as Rivlin. Okay.
Ritalin or
Rivlin.
Okay.
Rivlin. And this inmate was moved to our facility because she could not be at her facility. The one she came
from.
From.
A fighter or something or what?
No, she was actually the girlfriend of the head of a rather large gang in the Chicagoland area. I'm not going to say which gang.
All right.
Yeah. I don't like giving out too many details because
Let's be honest. I mean,
yes. You never know who's listening, who's going to pitch a bitch fit and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, well, that happens. Apparently, Buddy's pitching a bitch fit right now. So.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
Dude, it's impressive. You can tell the difference between your dogs by their bark.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one's a pit hound mix, and you can really tell that because she's goofy and dumb. And then Buddy, he's just got that. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah. Of course, Buddy's like a black lab mixed with Rottweiler. And
is Buddy your big dope?
Oh, yeah.
He's the big dopey one?
He's a dopey one.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. All right, so 36-inch shake.
Back to the story. She was the girlfriend of a rather large gang in the Chicagoland area. However, The rival gang.
I thought you were going to say rather large woman in Chicago area.
No.
Okay.
The rival gang, his girlfriend got locked up same facility.
Okay.
So they could not be around each other because they were both a part of the gang.
Right.
They were.
There's
They
gonna
weren't
be
just
some
the
fighting.
girlfriend. They weren't just the girlfriend. They were also members of the gang.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're basically the queen of that area. And so two rival queens in the same prison, shit was going to go down. It was going to get bad. The one could not come to the facility I was working at because I worked in a minimum security, and she could not go there.
Right.
Like
yeah.
she had been there, she was in there for a bad enough crime. She could not be in minimum security. So they escorted Rivlin out, brought her to my facility.
That's a hell of a name too.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I mention the bunny?
No. But
Okay,
you
that's
probably
another
finish your
story. That's another story I'll have about her. We'll write that down. I'll tell that one another time. This inmate, a lot of my stories involve her.
Was she just a shitbag or?
She was not that bad, actually. Like, she was actually very respectful to all of the officers. She was very nice. She was polite. Like, she was actually basically a model inmate. It was her interaction with other inmates that got her in trouble, that landed her in SEG or in our, I would always call them glass boxes, our crisis cells.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was in healthcare.
Right.
It was our healthcare cells. It was basically SEG with glass walls so we can actually see what the hell she was doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, it's really weird. Because we have a local, basically a home for problem children, and they have basically the same thing. It's a padded room with windows in it. So if they have somebody who's acting up, they'll put them in there until the ambulance comes and takes them up to the hospital.
Huh.
Yeah.
Then it's your problem.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but it is. Whatever.
That's a story for another time.
EMS, the abused first responders. Anyway, all right. So,
but anyway, she is just one of those inmates.
right.
You know, any officers that are listening out there, anybody who's ever worked corrections before, you all have that. Everybody has that one inmate that was great with the officers, horrible with the
Everybody
other
else.
inmates.
Yeah.
Well, she's standing in line for her meds one day. Now, another inmate pushed her into one of the windows in the facility because for some reason our facility had these like 9-foot tall windows on the outsides of the buildings showing the hallways to the outside of the building.
Nice.
For some reason, these giant windows.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. No. But pushed her into the window, completely shattered this window.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, completely shattered it. I mean, we had to rush her into healthcare to make sure she wasn't cut up, make sure she wasn't jacked up, and things like that. Now, here's the thing. She was patted down.
Right.
They pat her down on the way to healthcare. They pat her down on the way out of healthcare. They pat her down when she gets to her housing unit.
Right.
Okay. So 3 times she was shaken down. Okay. Patted down. Somehow, she had kept part of that glass. Now, this happened my last day of the week, my Friday. When I came back on my Monday, which was like a Saturday or something like that.
Yeah.
When I come back, I walk into healthcare because I was a healthcare officer for that 90s. Because every 90 days you switch jobs.
Right.
For that 90s, I was healthcare officer. I walk in, I happen to glance up, and I see her in one of the cells. And she's kind of like looks at me and then looks down. She and I had a really good rapport. I'm like, what the hell did you do? I walk up to her, I knock on the window. Like, she knows it's me. I was like, ding, ding, ding. She's like, hello? I know you saw me. I was like, I know you saw me. What did you do? She was like, I didn't do anything, C.L. Russell. I'm like, so they just decided to lock you in a box? What did you do? She's like, C.L. Russell, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. I'm like, uh-huh.
Sure.
It's like, your ticket is sitting out here. Do I need to read it, or are you going to tell me? She's
The fact you're in an isolated cell determined that was a lie.
well, this is what I always told people. I'm like, You're already in prison. If you end up in the jail of prison, you fucked up.
Twicey. You fucked up twicey, okay?
One of my favorite things to hear from inmates was like, I don't get in trouble.
Then why are you here?
Have you seen where you're at?
The gates determined that was a lie.
Yeah. Or another one, I had an inmate that would run up to doors that she knew they were locked and start jimmying the handle. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I'm trying to get in here.
Where are you gonna go?
I'm like, why are you trying to get in there? Like, one of them is the broom closet, which I have to unlock, give them a tool. We call them tools, brooms, dustpans, stuff like that. Ooh. I'd have to sign it out to them. Then they'd have to bring it back. I'd sign it back in. That way, if they use it to assault another inmate, that was signed out to them.
Or use the handle for something else.
Exactly. No, like that. Exactly.
Ugh.
Like,
those brooms smell weird.
Well, that's why they were very strict on signing stuff out. Another one before, she didn't have it signed out to her. She got it from the person it was signed out to. She walked into her room, and her inmate was laying on her bed, and she was just like, overhead, just BAM! And broke the broom handle. And we had the big, thick, like 1.5 inch wood broom handles.
Damn.
Yeah, she snapped it on this girl. I'm like, she didn't stab her with the broken end. Jesus.
Right. Holy shit.
She wanted to fuck her up. Yeah, by the way, just because somebody's in minimum security does not mean they're not violent.
Right, yeah.
But anyway.
Minimum's just a term of endearment.
Well, minimum, if you fit the criteria of being a minimum, you could actually be in there. Like, I had murderers in there.
No shit.
Yeah, they were murderers, but they were getting close to the end of their sentence. So if you were under a certain amount of time and you had no strikes against you for certain things...
Right, good behavior.
Yeah,
whatever.
You qualified to go to a minimum security.
I learned that from After Prison Show.
I was just watching that earlier. Yeah. But, that's a good show.
Yeah.
But anyway, so...
Actually, not to derail you, but did you see the one where Mike the Cop had the dude from After Prison Show? Like they did like a podcast video thing together?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out.
It's like 1.5 hours long or something like that.
I don't care. I got time.
Right? My dogs are just...
They're being douches today.
Yeah, they're just being assy little individuals, aren't they?
Yeah. Quiet down, you douche canoes.
That was the wall.
Thunk.
The funny thing is, like, my kitchen is directly on the other side of the wall from my office, so I'll be sitting here working on something, and they'll just, like, run into the wall because they're idiots. Stop dropping your junk.
Dude, man.
Crabs are a hell of a thing.
I don't even know what the fuck's going on down there today, man. Everything's, like, bunching up.
You need some powder or something.
I don't think I toweled off well enough when I got out of the shower today.
Actually, that's in the summertime when I'm at work. That's exactly what I do. I'll take like Gold Bond and powder the old.
I use baby powder, none of that talcum powder. Talc is just ground up rocks.
I know that we've kind of derailed your story just a little bit, but I fucked up one summer.
What'd you use?
And I
boric acid.
I accidentally got the menthol version of and it got
on your balls.
It got on my butthole, and it felt like a midget was following me around with a tiki torch the rest of the day. Like, I was scared. I freaking like. And pro tip for all of you EMS people out there, I carry wet wipes with me, like, in my backpack in the ambulance, because you never know when you're going to get a call, and you don't want to be, like, mid-wipe and, have that whole, sticky feeling in your butt crack for the rest of the day. So I carry, like, baby wipes with me. There was no amount of baby wiping that would get that menthol powder from where it should never go. Just...
It's like, if I have to wipe any deeper, I'm getting a table leg.
Oh my god!
Jesus Christ!
I got in touch with my inner self today. That's the last time I buy single ply toilet paper. But okay, so yeah, so she took a piece of glass and
okay. I'm like, what did you do? She's like, well, nothing. All right, fine. I'm reading your ticket then. I'm sitting here reading it. Evidently, she had smuggled 2 pieces of glass away from the incident. One was a 4-inch piece that she just wrapped couple pieces of cloth around, like tore up a t-shirt, wrapped a piece of cloth, and she kept in her bra strap, right below her collar.
Right.
Okay. Because that's where they would put their IDs, so the ID would cover up most of the bulge if there was any. Kind of a smart idea.
Right. Pro tip for all you criminals out there.
Yeah, pro tip. But
especially a criminal with a bra.
But evidently the other inmates, they all knew she was not going to use it on an officer.
Right.
Even the other officers knew she wouldn't use it on us. She was going to use it on another inmate.
Probably the same one that pushed her into the window.
Oh, honestly, those two are like the two Amazons in that place. Like, they were both taller than me. I'm 6 foot. They were both taller than me and outweighed me probably about a good 20 pounds. And they had like a basketball player's build. Right. Kind of.
Yeah.
Like a male basketball player, but a basketball player. And so I could kind of understand why they disliked each other. Like, they were kind of both commodities in there. A lot of other females, especially like the young ones that were just trying to make their way in.
Talk slower.
Are you having a hard time focusing today?
No. It's sexier if you talk slower. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, they're both kind of commodities in there. Like, they always had a different girlfriend, blah, blah, blah.
Right,
blah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well,
protection.
I could understand why they liked each other. Or they hated each other, my bad. I can understand why they hated each other. Well, anyway, she got turned in by other inmates saying that she had shanks.
Right.
So they came into the gym, like, from what I was told, like 20 deep. Like, there were like 20 officers there just in case she decides she's going to whip it out and start swinging that.
Right.
Just a little 4-inch one. Okay?
Right.
They walked in. She put her hands up. She's like, I know why you're here. I have a shank. It's in my bra strap. Y'all can come and take it. I ain't pulling it out because I don't want trouble.
Right.
So they went in there, they got it off of her, they got her in say, they started going through her stuff. In her property box, they found one that was every bit of 36 inches long.
How in the fuck do you smuggle back 36 inches of glass?
I've got no idea. Like,
that is a cavernous pussy.
It had a hand towel wrapped around one end. I was like, you basically had a sword.
Or at least a hatchet. Fuck.
Like, fucking hell, were you gonna go fight in the Game of Thrones, kill some White Walkers with this sumbitch? Like,
Winter's
Jesus.
Coming. Fuck, dude.
And I'm reading this thing and I'm like, Rivlin, how can you say this is nothing? She's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, do you realize a 36-inch shank would go right through me? Like, I am not 36 inches thick.
Right.
And she was like, oh, see-ya, Russell, I would never use it on you. And I was like, well, I appreciate that.
While I appreciate that.
Like, and I do believe that you would never use it on me.
I believe that the intention was shitty anyway.
Well, no, I was like, well, I believe you never use it on me. But what happens if somebody else would have gotten a hold of that?
Right.
That didn't like me. And they would have stabbed me. So, yeah, I take any weapon from any inmate a little personally.
Right.
Because somebody could use it on me. There are inmates in there that hated me.
Right.
And she's like, oh, well, fuck them up. I'm like, once again, I appreciate that notion, but I'd already be dead at that point. I would have been gutted.
This is the point we're at right now is not the fact that you would help me. It's the fact that I would be fucking dead.
You were the one who caused it. Well, you helped cause this.
Right, yeah.
And I got down to the bottom of the ticket, and I was kind of looking at her. I'm like, Rivlin, has anybody said anything to you about the rock and a sock? She's like, no. Are you telling me that they found a 4-inch shank, a 36-inch shank, and a rock and a sock, and they didn't even mention the rock and a sock? Because at this point, if I was in charge, I would have been throwing the book at her and been like, yeah, just write her up for everything.
That's like the shittiest Dr. Seuss book. A 4-inch shank, a 36-inch shank, and a rock and a sock. It's like
Dr. Seuss goes to prison.
That's what I was just going to say. That sucks. Like,
yeah.
I as shitty as it is, I still want to know where she hid a 36-inch piece of glass.
I know the officers that shook her down.
Yeah.
They do a good job every time.
Speaking of shakedowns, do you ever see that video of this like it's outside of some like I want to say like Coliseum or something where they were having a concert of some kind. Mm-hmm. And you know how they have security guards out there that are patting down people?
Yeah, they randomly pat people down.
No, well, they were patting down everybody, but this dude was like 60 and like barely even touching him. It was just like arms, torso, leg, go on. Arms, torso, leg, go on. I'm like, you could have gotten anything in that motherfucker. Like, where in the fuck did this dude get his job? I get
sneaking in random shit just because you know you can. Like, oh, this guy? Yeah. Hold on, I gotta go back to the car. What are you getting? My bowling pins.
Bowling pins. A 6-foot bong. It's hanging out of your shirt. You can see it. You got a flag on it. Yeah. I mean, like, I get...
Just 2x4s with a wide load tag on the end of it.
Yeah. Menard sign hanging off your ass, whatever. But, like, I get... Especially now being off work and, you know, all this shit being off work. I hate being off work, but I get, like... I dive way too deep into YouTube. So
Dude, I work and I dive way too... Matter of fact, I just found a video called Straight Outta Hogwarts.
Oh, God.
It's a parody of Straight Outta Compton, where these British kids... It was Harry, Ron, and Hagrid.
Oh, God.
It's actually pretty funny.
Do you... this is totally off topic, but I found this. Do you watch American Pickers?
I do.
You know Danny D, the tatted chick that works with him? Oh.
Yeah, she's a burlesque dancer.
Yes, I found the videos.
Oh, no shit?
Oh, yes, they're on YouTube.
I can see her chub from here.
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to lie. She's hot. Like, especially in the beginning. I don't know. Her with curly hair, not so much. At the beginning of the show, like, super hot. I'm just saying. Probably would have to be my attainable celebrity crush. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Do you have a list of your celebrity crushes?
My wife listens to this show. No, I do not.
Okay. Plausible deniability. Good job, man. Good job. I mean...
No, actually, there is one actress I do find incredibly good looking, and I find her incredibly talented. And I don't know her name.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, John and I actually had... this was something we were going to talk about like after the first one.
I'm pretty sure she'd be right up your alley, too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Abby from NCIS.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know she's a singer in a rock band?
I did not know that.
And her voice is phenomenal. I love her.
Apparently, she's no longer on NCIS because of something that Mark Harmon did or something.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I knew that she was no longer on there because that is my wife's idol.
I don't know if it's a rumor, but I don't know. Like I read somewhere that Mark Harmon like was a little skeevy.
Really?
Yeah, which is a shame because I like him as an actor. And he seems like a decent dude, but who knows?
I can't see him as anything other than Gibbs, and so like I didn't see Freaky Friday, the remake.
Yeah.
Until after I started watching NCIS. So seeing him play the boyfriend to, was it Jamie Lee Curtis, I want to say?
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lee Curtis?
I know. I have no idea. I haven't seen Freaky Friday. I don't have kids, so I don't watch the kids' movies, man. Sorry.
Fair enough. I can't
Although,
even get offended by that.
What is it? Secret World of Pets? I love that movie.
I think you'd like Zootopia, too.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm one of those... I mean, I'm a giant kidult, so occasionally I will watch cartoon movies just because I find them entertaining.
I dig Wreck-It Ralph and Wall-E, so I can't really.
Okay.
I'll watch those without my son present.
I don't even have an excuse of having a son present. I'm just like, fuck it, I'll watch this.
My wife turned on Coco. Because she was like, I watched this with Jensen today and he loves it. So I was sitting there laying on the couch with my son, trying to get him to go to sleep. Because he wanted to lay with Daddy, and I didn't want to go in his room, so I was like, "Screw it, lay on the couch with me."
Right.
Laying on the couch watching Coco. He fell asleep 15 minutes in. I finished the damn movie. I love that movie.
You know what surprises me is how many things in kids movies from when I was a kid that I missed. That was
all the adult jokes.
Oh yeah. Now I watch them and I'm like, how did I not get
How
that?
did I not question that at least?
Yeah.
Well, see, okay, like one of my favorites where it's funny from both an adult's point of view and a kid's point of view. Emperor's New Groove. When Kronk is laying under the tent.
I love that movie, by the way. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
Giant Kidult, Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Really good movie.
Well, as a kid, you're like, ha ha ha, he's humongous and that tent is so tiny. As an adult, you're like, he's literally pitching a tent. Because if you notice, the tent is directly over his crotch. Yeah.
On the face.
As an adult, you're like, I see what they did there. Sleep boner.
Apparently, in the Rescuers Down Under, there's like people fucking in the background. Like they... in one of the windows. In one of the windows, falling. Yeah. Uh-huh. I have not watched that movie again to see if it's actually true, but I heard
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? There's an upskirt shot of Jessica Rabbit in one of the scenes or something like that.
I could get off to that.
I bet you could.
All right. Yeah, I have no idea. There's a lot of those. Here's one movie I'm sure you probably haven't thought about in forever is... And there's dogs again. What's the dude in the... Dick Tracy. I loved that movie when I was growing up.
I haven't seen that movie in probably 10 years.
I know. Neither have I. The dude with the flat head that had an airplane that flies off of it or something like that. Yeah. It's a good movie. I don't even know why we got onto movies.
I don't know.
We went from Shanks to movies. What the fuck?
Well, I was done with my Shank story, if that makes me feel any better.
Okay. You had another story that I have a story to go along with. Somebody bleeding.
Oh, yeah. One of the inmates almost bled out. I'm not sure how the hell that worked out, because I left corrections soon after that. That was not a cause. It was just... That just happened. Just happened to happen within a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so before I ended up leaving.
Right, yeah.
No, I'm going to call them Inmate 1 and 2. Inmate 1...
Thing 1 and Thing 2?
Kind of.
Okay. Inmate
1 is a very butch inmate.
I don't feel like inmates are very...
There were rumors that they were a couple.
Effeminate, so...
Some of them are.
Okay.
There were rumors that they were a couple, and if they were, I don't know if they were or not, but if they were, Inmate 1 was the boyfriend. The boyfriend in the relationship.
She's the man in that relationship. Okay.
When they broke up, Inmate 1 did not take it very well.
Okay.
Inmate 1 ran up to Inmate 2 and headbutt her while she was on the phone, and it knocked her down.
Okay.
Then she proceeded to kick her up between her legs viciously, as hard as she could, and it ended up breaking something inside of her.
So literally fucking that pussy up.
She broke something.
Okay.
She broke something inside her cooter, and she started just pouring blood.
Ugh.
Now, the officers that were on the unit, the one that took over, I kind of felt bad for her, the officer. Now, you're probably thinking like, oh, you're heartless because you felt bad for the officer in the situation. No, I felt bad for her because she wasn't the officer supposed to be on that unit. She was lunch relief officer. So she just went in to relieve the officer for lunch.
My life.
She was not supposed to be on the unit at the time. Like, she was for lunch. That's it.
This is the weirdest episode we've ever had, and we've had a lot of weird ones.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we planned this one very well.
No.
It's kind of like I called you and was like, dude, I'm coming over.
Okay.
We need to record tonight. Sorry. When she called out that there was a 1010 on D-Wing.
I can only imagine it would be like, oh my God!
Well, she called out a 1010 on D-Wing. Okay. A 1010.
Is a fight.
Yeah, it's a fight. And then 3 seconds later, she goes,
1016 is a fight with a weapon.
I think that's a little different in corrections.
Okay, well,
yeah,
not all 10 codes are created equal.
No.
That's why you're not supposed to use them anymore.
No, well, you're not supposed to use them anymore?
Huh.
Really?
Yeah. Technically, they don't want EMS or fire using 10 codes at all.
Really?
Because they change from area to area.
And they also change from which job you have. Like with corrections, it's one thing. However, I know that the local police force, their 10 codes are entirely different.
Yeah.
10-4 is universal, is okay.
And this is the other thing that sucks, is like police will tell you that they want you to respond code 4, but code 4 for us is lights and sirens. Code 1 is no lights and sirens. For them, code 4 is
it's the other way around.
Okay, so they don't want you to respond with lights and sirens. Yeah, it's all fucked up. And actually, that all changed with FEMA. FEMA and NIMS, National Incident Management something. Whatever.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's interesting, man. I'm gonna have to look that one up too.
Yeah.
Just see what we're supposed to do now.
Nothing. Plain English. That's exactly what they tell you.
Got it, Captain.
We got blood coming from a pussy. Come on.
Who gave Gomer Pyle the radio? Anyway, where was I? Oh, 10:10. 3 seconds later, I've got a code 3. Code 3 means emergency. All line movement gets shut down. Everyone in their housing units. Nobody goes anywhere until that code 3 is passed. And me being the healthcare officer, I have to respond to it by saying, I hear your code 3. What should I have the nurses bring down? Because the nurses actually go to the unit.
Right.
Like, what should I have the nurses bring down? Do they need a stretcher or a wheelchair? Now, what they won't tell you is those nurses, they ain't pulling those stretchers out.
No.
No.
I have responded to jails before, and I'm like, what do you get paid to do? It's almost worse than a nursing home. Like, as shitty as it sounds.
I actually knew more than one nurse that even said, like, I cannot do this. This is not what I was trained to do. And there was actually one, not the same incident, where she was having a seizure, and they just picked her up, threw her in their wheelchair, and wheeled her back to the healthcare. Yeah, just threw her in. She was having a seizure, like she was seizing up. I'm like, y'all don't think
maybe
stretcher
you should do
be a
something
good idea?
else.
Like, but I'm like, don't ask me. I'm just a correction officer. I didn't go to college.
I actually went to the local jail to responded to the local jail for a guy that tried to hang himself. They had the C-collar on upside down. Like that's like emergency response 101. Like the first day that you
I think I could put a C-collar on, right?
I'm sure you probably could. I mean, it's not that hard. It's pretty utilitarian in its purpose. I mean, it's shaped the way that it's
supposed to go on.
Yeah, like I'm looking at it. I'm like,
did you give him a chin guard?
What in the fuck did you just do? Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so they're like, we need a stretcher. Of course, the nurse is like, well, we ain't gonna bring it on a stretcher. And they bring the thing down. Next thing I know, I've got 2 lieutenants, 4 officers, and the nurses coming in, and there's a blood trail behind them. Whoa. And I'm like, stretcher probably would have made a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, what do I know?
They get her up in the hospital bed. They plugged her up. Like they were trying to apply pressure to stop the bleeding.
That's internal. It's not going to help.
Well, the doctor evidently didn't want to call out for outside help. Matter of fact, we had a call the city's ambulance service. So you may have heard about that story.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And eventually one of the head nurses was just like, I'm making a call. I'm calling.
I don't care. I'm calling.
And no, like she got into a lot of trouble for it. Like evidently she broke protocol. She broke chain of command, like all that. She called an outside service.
At that point, you really have to.
Yeah, and she was upset that she was getting in trouble for it. And I told her, I was like, listen, I know it doesn't mean anything because you've been doing this job longer than I've been alive. But if you ask me, I think you did the right choice because I mean, you could choose to keep your nose clean or do what you were trained to do, and you saved a life.
At that point, yeah. I mean, at that point,
she was bleeding profusely. Like they could not get the blood to stop. Like, as soon as they would move the bandages, it would just pour out like a waterfall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I was not in the room, but because being a male officer and the region that was injured, I could not be in the room.
Region, yes.
Yeah. It being her, it being her vagina, I could not be in the room. That's a Priya thing. Like,
right.
I couldn't be in the room. So I didn't want to be. I'm good. But anyways, one of the other officers actually told me the whole story. They ended up getting her shipped out to the hospital, and the surgeon came in and like removed some of the bandages and was like, "What did she get stabbed with?" And they're like, "Nothing.
Something's not right."
He's like, "Are you positive she didn't get shanked with something?" They're like, "No, she kicked her." And he looked at me and he's like, "Do you realize how hard she had to get kicked to break something inside?"
Oh yeah.
And they finally ended up getting her sewn up. She went through surgery, everything taken care of. She ended up being in the hospital for, I want to say, 2 weeks, and then getting brought back and being put in the healthcare unit for like another week on top of that. And she ended up being okay.
Right.
The other inmate ended up getting shipped out for violent assault.
Well, I would assume.
Well, they ended up giving her more time for attempted murder, from what I heard. Yeah. And now, do I think she intentionally attempted murder? No, but at the same time,
well, I mean, yeah,
it's
involuntary manslaughter.
You're gonna get extra time for that one. That was a horrible assault. Like, if that would have happened in the showers, she'd probably be dead.
Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually lost a good porter over that whole thing. Porters were our janitors, and when they got her moved out, they're like, "Okay, I see you, Russell. You need to come in this room." And I come in, and it looks like a fucking See No Evil movie. There's blood everywhere.
Ugh.
And they're like, "Can you get this cleaned up?"
Nope.
I ain't touching a fucking thing. And they're like, no, we need to get one of your porters down here. I was like, "All right, go get Gillespie." And they're like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, why Gillespie?" Like, I picked her right off the top of my head, and they're like, "Why Gillespie?" I'm like, "She's the best porter I have. She'll get this place cleaned up." She comes in, she cleans up, she gets done cleaning up. She looks at me and goes, "This was my last night. I can't do it. I'm asking for a job change.
I'm out."
And I was like, technically, I could have made her keep coming back. I could have made her. I'm like, you gotta. But at that point in time, I was just like, you know what? You've done enough. Like,
time served. Fuck it.
I'm like, I understand. So, like, for the last 2 weeks before she got to finalize her job change, I just didn't even call her down to clean. I was just like, "Yeah, you're good." I signed the paperwork that she came down and cleaned, so she'd still get paid for it.
Right.
Because you got like X amount of money for doing her job.
For ramen.
Yeah. And so I would just sign off saying that she came down and cleaned, but I didn't even call her down. I let her go to gym. I'm like, yeah, she did enough.
Not same, kind of similar. Was I don't know what actually ended up happening because it was a busy night. But, as shitty as it is, in EMS, you hear some calls come out, and you really just kind of have that attitude every once in a while that's just like, "Oh, this is just a waste of time, blah, 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 whatever." And we actually got called to a nursing home that was on the outskirts of the county, so it was a fair bit of a drive for vaginal bleeding. Ugh. Which, you think, whenever you hear that, especially at a nursing home, all you can think is, there's no way, they've probably gone through the change. So you really are, right. You're like, is it really vaginal, blah, 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 is it really this, is it really that, like, is this really worth my time, especially because 9 times out of 10, whenever you get a call like that, it's like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and You're like, okay, so is this patient in the nursing home just kind of being an annoyance, and they just want to send them off to the hospital so that they can be rid of them for, X amount of time? Well, we get there, and I go in, and it's a sweet little old lady, and, I'm talking to her, and, she's like, she's telling me what's going on, and the nurse is nowhere to be found, of course, because it's a fucking nursing home, and they just, like, disappear.
Yeah.
And, then one nurse actually ended up coming down, but it was her first night there, so she didn't have any of the paperwork ready, didn't have anything, like didn't have the history or any of the paperwork that she's supposed to have.
Right, and honestly, it sucks for that nurse because I mean it's her first night and her trainer is gonna leave her like that. That's bullshit.
Yeah, I'm sure the nurse that had been there a while was out smoking or something like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like there's three things that you always hear when you go to a nursing home. This is not my patient. This is not my wing. I just got here at shift change. I mean, literally that's normally what you hear from a nursing home nurse, which is kind of shitty. But so I'm talking to the little old lady, and my partner's kind of still got that whole why the fuck are we even here kind of thing going on. We load her up on the cot, and she had a little bit of blood that I could see. So I put chuck pads all the way down the cot, get her out to the ambulance, and I'm getting my vital signs and all that stuff, and I tell my partner, I'm like, look, we need all this paperwork, so you need to go in, find the nurse, tell her to hurry up so that way we can get the show on the road and all that stuff. My partner goes back in, so I'm in the back of the ambulance. I take vitals and all that stuff, and she's got low blood pressure, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to ALS this, so I'm putting starting an IV, putting the cardiac monitor on and all that stuff, so I can, monitor her on the way to the hospital. Well, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 minutes goes by,
right,
and I'm getting ready to put the patches for the cardiac monitor on, so I unbundle this lady, and there is copious amounts of blood filling up the cot and just rising steadily. Like I can see in between her legs, it's like a pool of blood.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh, this went from 0 to 100 real quick. Yeah. So I'm like,
dude, get the back out here.
And so I'm like hanging fluids. I'm starting to hang fluids up, and my partner comes out and opens the back door and says, I think she said, well, the nurse still hasn't got the paperwork ready. It's going to be another minute. And I'm like, you need to tell them we're leaving now, and we're running hot to the hospital. And my partner's like, what? And I open the blanket up, and that pool of blood is just filling up in between her legs. Around. She's like, holy shit.
She's starting to float on it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're running hot to the hospital. I had no information on this person. I'm like I started another line on the other side. On the way to the hospital, I'm hanging fluids, and we get to the hospital, and the only thing I could tell them was we got called for, vaginal bleeding at XYZ nursing home. Well, we have copious amounts of blood. The problem with EMS and some hospitals is when you get to the hospital, they're like, oh, sure, copious, blah, blah, blah. They kind of they don't really take it seriously. Yeah. And, I come in and I've got fluids hanging from both sides. I've got pressure bags. I'm pushing fluid in, and you can tell that the blood that's coming out is getting thinner and thinner and thinner because it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. I'm like, we need to go to a room now or she's gonna bleed out. And the nurse is like, oh, it can't be that bad, what's the vital signs and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, we went from a blood pressure of 100 over 50 to 70 over 20, and it keeps going down. We need to get to a room now. The doctor walked in and goes, okay, so do we know where the bleeding's coming from? And I'm like, I don't know, and I just open the blanket up, and he's like, holy shit, and so we start moving everything
up. Yeah, now it's go time. Thanks a lot, assholes.
Right, exactly. And I think they actually ended up taking her into the trauma bay because the trauma bay is actually a legitimate trauma bay in a hospital is kept at a certain temperature. Whereas, and hotter than...
It's listen, Doc, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be responsible for the death of Betty White over here. Get your ass moving.
And I have no idea what ended up happening. The only thing I can think is she just had a massive GI bleed, and it just started coming out from any movement whatsoever.
God.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one of those sketchy things.
Was she, starting to get, lethargic at all?
She was pale to begin with, but she's, 80. So I'm... I
mean, was she freaking out at all? When she started,
really.
She started hanging back, she was like, "What's happening?"
Well, it's like like I tell everybody, like especially students, and like I tell people all the time, is if you're in EMS, be the calm, because when you freak out, it makes everything worse. So you have to learn how to work quickly, but not cause panic at the same time.
Right, not like frantically.
Right, yeah. So, you know,
be quick, not frantic.
Yeah.
Or everything goes down the tubes.
Well, and every patient I ever have, you know, I don't just start doing something and not tell them what I'm doing, because then they start to wonder.
You walk them through it. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, that way there's no their mind escalating to the worst possible thing.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain what I told her was, I said, we're going to get to the hospital and we're going to be moving very quickly, and I'm going to have a few other things that I need to do. Just relax, and if you have any pain or anything like that, tell me. If some changes, tell me, but I'm going to start another IV, and I'm going to hang some more fluids for you and all this stuff. So, yeah, it's one of those things where you work quick, but don't
lose your shit.
Right, exactly. And that's one of those things that is learned, not taught. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen younger medics that'll come in and they'll have a situation that's not as intense, that'll start freaking out over, you know, small things because they haven't learned that yet, and then, you know, it kind of makes it even worse. So that's, in my opinion, that's one of the biggest things that you need to learn if you're going to be a medic, or probably in anything that's, you know, first responder related, is be the calm and just chill, but work quickly if you have to. And that's one thing that I think one of the older medics told me, which, and I hate to say it, this is a bad piece of advice. We were talking about good and bad advice last week, but he would get upset if he didn't feel like you were moving quick enough. And he kept telling people, you gotta move with a purpose. You gotta move with a purpose. Okay, well, yeah, I am moving with a purpose, but, you know, if I move any quicker or anything like that, that's when mistakes start getting made. So, you know. Yeah. And he'd been a medic forever anyway, but.
Yeah, I have had a few officers that were in charge of me that were like that. They would come onto the unit, whatever unit I was working on, and they would just come out and sit down, be like, well, why haven't you written her up for that? Or why haven't you written her up for that? Or her for that? I'm like, okay, here's the thing. Now, I may be wrong, but this was how I looked at being an officer. I could not give a shit less about some of the minor offenses. If somebody wants to roll up their pants legs, which is against the rules,
right,
I don't fucking care. I'm not going to go ahead and write them up for that. However, if they want to start screaming across the day room, I'm going to get irritated about that one.
Right.
Now, that one's more of a safety protocol thing, because if I've got inmates screaming at each other from across the day room and somebody's getting their ass whooped in the showers, I'm not going to hear them.
Right, exactly.
I'm not going to hear anything out of the showers. And then next thing I know, some inmate's dragging herself out of the shower with fucking 2 broken legs and beat to a pulp. And I got to explain to my superior how I didn't stop that when I'm the officer on the unit. Yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to management, good management and bad management, because, you know, I've worked for companies that had really good managers, and I've worked for companies that had really shitty managers. Oh, yeah. And the shitty ones are always the ones that are too worried about the little things and just want to beat everybody up about every little problem that they perceive as an issue. You know, well, we have this written down. This is in the book. You have to do this, or, you know, I'm going to write you up, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, in anything that's like public service related, you have enough stress to deal with. You don't need to add to the stress. I mean, if you're a good manager, you're not going to add to, you know, a shitty day that somebody is already having. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't have any experience with it, but I would assume that, you know, if you have a little bit of leeway with an inmate, then they're going to be a better inmate than if you're just like putting the hammer down all the time. You know what I mean?
Because they're not like children. Like, a lot of officers be like, oh, well, inmates are like children. Yeah, in a lot of ways they are, but in some ways they're not. if you keep telling them they're doing something wrong, which as many rules as any correctional facility has, every inmate's going to be doing at least one little minor thing wrong.
Right, yeah.
It's impossible not to. I mean, think about it this way. Let's say you got pulled over by a cop every time you went 5 miles over the speed limit.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason. Nobody wants that paperwork anyway.
Exactly.
So.
Well, I mean, just saying, like, how mad would that make you if you ended up going even 2 miles over the speed limit? You got a ticket for it. Well, by the end of the week, you have a loss of license because your ass went downhill too fast?
Right, yeah.
Are you serious?
Or your speedometer's not calibrated 100%. Or,
mine's not. Mine's 5 miles off.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and my truck's lifted with bigger tires, so even though I have a tuner on it that supposedly corrects, your speedometer, it's 5 miles off. Yeah.
Yeah, if you give them a little bit of leeway, they'll actually respect you a little bit. Like, one of the worst things I think they ever did was actually take smoking out of prisons. Now, I know it sounds funny because, the reason they took it out was kind of like a secondhand smoke kind of thing. Or
by the way, I'm proud
fire.
of you. I haven't seen you smoke a single cigarette in the last,
month. I've been quit for a month.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Me and John converted him to vaping, which probably not, super healthy
Popcorn
either.
lung.
It is what it is.
But no, actually the one I got is called a Q, and it's made to help you quit smoking. Like, you can go from 6 milligram cartridges to 3 milligram cartridges down to 0 milligram cartridges.
You can do that with these too.
Yeah, but this costs $25.
Okay, all right.
The whole thing.
There you go. There's the real reason.
Yeah. And it actually works. I mean, I've had the same. No, I mean, I'm probably going to have to get a new one soon because I dropped it and I broke part of it. Still works right now.
I've dropped mine a lot. But yeah, I can see how that is because, especially if you're in a jail, you have nothing to do anyway.
No. I know quite a few inmates there that got a lot of their reading list done.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah.
They got a lot of their reading done while they were locked up. Like, I had a couple inmates who I'm not even sure why they were in there. Now, it actually always kind of threw me off because not every inmate is locked up in prison for doing something god awful, horrible. They're not even human anymore. So that's another thing I never understood, why some officers would treat inmates like they were inhuman.
Right. Yeah.
Because I would have a murderer in the same cell, somebody who forged a check.
Right. Or was found with a pot plant or something.
Yeah. And do I agree with murder? No. But a lot of the people that were in there, according to them, were in there for self-defense.
Right, yeah.
One of them, actually there was two in there, that it was kind of self-defense. They were both beat by their husband.
Right, yeah.
For years. And one of them snapped and stabbed him.
Huh, well, yeah.
Okay. And I was actually there for a week when I found out about this story. They were like, "Hey, inmate, get over here." They're like, "Hey, Russell, ask her why she's in here." And I'm like, "I ain't doing that." Because that was one thing they told us in training. Like, do not ask an inmate why they're in there. It doesn't fucking matter.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And I was trying to be by the book at the time. And I was like, I ain't doing that. And they're like, "Why not?" Because I really don't care. It's not going to change anything.
Right.
And they're like, "Just ask." I'm not. And they're like, "All right, fine." They're like, "Hey, get over here. Why are you in prison?" "I stabbed my husband 17 times.
Holy shit.
And they're like, I was like, 17 times? Like, why only 17 times? Why didn't you at 18? She's like, "Man, they pulled my ass off of him."
Holy shit.
Yeah, she snapped.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then there was another one who that you thought that one was brutal. This one was locked up. She got 40 years. And she was maliciously beat by her husband.
Right.
Okay. And one day he got home. She clocked him with a bat. Clocked him with a bat. Clocked him a couple times with the bat, and he tried to run. She followed him. He jumps in his truck. She smashes the window open with a brick. She picks up a brick as she's chasing him, and so she's done.
Was she married to Tiger Woods?
No. She smashed the window with a brick, and when she threw the brick through the window, it hit him.
Huh.
She ended up pouring gas on the fucking truck and lighting it on fire. Yeah, she cooked his ass.
All right.
Yeah, that's why she was in there. She ended up killing him. The judge, from what she was telling me, said that he was gonna give her life until she proved that he was beating the hell out of her.
Really?
And he was like, "All right, well, the best I can do is 40 years then." He's like,
it's always a good day for a barbecue.
It was self-defense until you lit his ass on fire.
Right.
And then you became the aggressor. Like, I'm like,
that's shitty, man.
Yeah, like if she would have killed him with the bat or something, she probably would have gotten 5-10 years.
Right, yeah.
But since she lit his ass on fire and cooked him alive, basically, that was a pretty violent way
That
was a pretty violent way to go.
Never look at barbecue the same.
Yeah, no. No, there's some of them, and they're in there for some crazy shit. Like, there was another inmate that was in there who she was huffing paint. She got arrested. She got brought in. She did her time. She got out on parole. She paroled out.
Started huffing paint.
Good girl. Even better. She went to the closest Walmart as soon as she got back to her hometown, grabbed a bunch of the paint cans, went to the bathroom and started huffing paint in the bathroom until she passed out.
Holy shit.
They called the police. The police contracted her parole officer, who hadn't even met her yet.
Nice.
Cuffed her and brought her back to the prison.
Huh. All right.
She didn't even get home. She didn't even get to say hi to anybody.
No shit.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Then she was out and back in less than 24 hours.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Huh.
And they're like, "What the fuck?" Like,
I can't even imagine that huffing paint would be that fun.
We haven't even changed the bedding schedule yet. You're just going right back in your old bed.
Huh. Yeah, I can't imagine huffing paint would be that fun in any way. So
I have no idea.
There are certain things in life I don't need to know.
Yeah. I was actually talking to somebody today about that at work. We're talking about like crack and heroin addicts.
Nice.
Yeah. We were talking about different drugs, and I'm like, yeah, I've never had any interest in doing any hardcore drugs.
No.
None.
No. I mean, what's the worst that happens with pot? Happy, hungry, sleepy. You know?
Happy, hungry, sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear any stories about somebody getting high on pot and then going home and beating the hell out of their wife and kids.
Right.
Never hear those stories.
Well, it's about that time, man.
This was a weird episode.
Fuck yeah, it was. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna be a editing nightmare. Oh well.
Sorry.
So
sound effects. Pow! Zing!
if you guys enjoyed this, I'm not sure why, but I'm glad you did. So just another beautiful day in paradise, man.
All right, guys. So I've got an album sitting right in front of me, and I think you guys should check it out. It's, the band is called From Ashes Reborn. Okay? I know the band members pretty well. Very good friends and family. They just released their first album. If you guys like rock and roll, check these guys out. Really.
I listened to them like before we started recording. They're really good. It's kind of an interesting combo. Like they go from Incubus to like POD-ish, and then the last it kind of reminds me of Lamb of God. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of the better like local smaller albums that I've heard in quite a long time. But you know, and that's coming from like 2006 me, where every local band had a brand new album every week or whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, I liked it. It's really good. I would suggest that you guys check it out. You know, not everybody's gonna like every single song on the album, but you know, that's how music is anyway. So
I would say my recommendations are gonna have to be Eye of the Storm, Euthanizer, and Single File.
I'm going to go with Baconator because that's
Baconator.
The one that sounds like Lamb of God. And it's about a sandwich. So, well, guys, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Please don't forget to go on our Facebook or Twitter, 10-7 Off Duty. Also, get a hold of us on Gmail at 107offduty@gmail.com. No dash. It wouldn't let me do a dash. So just 107offduty@gmail.com. Yes.
You're a dash.
Yes. Sure. I don't even know what that means. I went to church camp.
Wrong place to put it in.
Okay.
That would have been the right time to say about church camp.
Okay. If you guys want t-shirts, we still got medium, large, and extra large available. $16 shipped to your house as long as it's in the continental U.S. And I've recently seen there's a couple of people that are listening in Japan, so konnichiwa.
Hey.
Or however you would say something like that in Japanese. Not culturally inept.
You could just say hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Also, don't forget to go check out our friends at medicelement.com and use the discount code MEDIC18 for buy one, get one free on stickers. Also, Black Rifle Coffee. Still loving that stuff. Had some earlier today. Probably not enough. That's why I'm tired. But use the discount code 107OFFDUTY for 15% off at blackriflecoffee.com. So
You
do
get
that.
a syringe. Inject it straight into your bloodstream.
I think that would kill me. I mean, I'm fairly certain that...
Or your hair would go blonde and start standing up.
Like a Saiyan?
Scream.
Super Saiyan?
Scream for 46 episodes straight.
All right, guys. Thank you all for joining us again. We're glad you're here, and we'll see you next week. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this, but it's going to be okay.
Bye.
See ya.